You are welcome to another episode of HN What's Your Say? The #1 listening show where we discuss real issues with real people like you. We are still featuring R. Kelly. Real name Robert Sylvester Kelly. Also known as the R&B King. As the New York appeal date closes in, a lot is anticipated to take place, and hopefully so many changes made to the rather harsh New York conviction that was carelessly made, blinded by the desire by the trial judge Anne Donnelly to become famous as the person that sent the R&B King to life in prison. Carried away by emotions, she did not stop at issuing 10 guilty verdicts together with her prejudicial jury. She also made sure to issue an indirect life in prison sentence when she gave R. Kelly 30 years without any hope of release until the 30 were all served in full. And even after the 30 years, she decided that the first 5 years of his release will be under close supervision, the kind of sentence one would issue a non-apologetic notorious serial killer that has taken innocent lives with no remorse. And what did the controversial judge have to defend all her actions? Mere allegations after allegations with no clear evidence to prove that R. Kelly ever committed any of the crimes that were pinned onto him. But confidently she locked him up with no proper legal process, which was not only illegal but also a personal attack on the life of the R&B King. If a trial process is going to be fair, it doesn't start the way the one against R. Kelly did. Using the excuse of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Department of Justice was able to delay this trial for years, and during this period R. Kelly was detained. The government together with the BOP were not sleeping. They were busy collecting recordings of conversations between Robert and his attorneys, as well as those between him and his two girlfriends Azriel Clary and Joycelyn Savage, who were firmly standing with him and ready to testify in court as defense witnesses. They were also busy drilling the rather populous accusers who would never fit in court at the same time. The reason we saw the court process take several days to have all the 45 presented before the jury and busy lying on the R&B King as deeply as they could. But as they say, you cannot tell so many lies before you are caught. Some of these individuals that were bearing false witness against the R&B King were eventually busted, and today we still don't understand why, after it had been detected that government had actually presented deceitful witnesses to tell lies under oath, the case was not dropped there and then. The New York jury and their federal judge instead preferred to give these women a benefit of doubt and believe every other story that was not immediately contested by the defense, as though to suggest that there was reason to believe these women and not to believe the defense. Basing on word of mouth, testimonies and despite the void of evidence, the Brooklyn federal judge Anne Donnelly managed to find R. Kelly guilty on 10 counts in yet another abuse of the power vested in her by the Department of Justice and by the people of this great nation. And these are some of the issues that are going to be addressed by the New York appeal. Remember, among the New York charges is the controversial RICO violation, which until today has remained questionable, and the Mann Act violation charges too, which have since not been proved by the plaintiff. R. Kelly has completely nothing in his past record that shows he operated an illegal criminal enterprise or cult like his accusers packaged it. If he had any relationships with these said victims, it was always about him and no one else. In fact, there is nowhere in the trial transcript where it's mentioned that R. Kelly led a gang of criminals whose purpose was to commit crime, as should be if RICO charges are to be applied. If any of the women had spoken of being gang raped or lured into intercourse by R. Kelly's colleagues, we would not be objecting these charges. But fortunately or unfortunately for R. Kelly, because these women were always after his money and nothing else, all they spoke of to have allegedly abused them was him. And like that, the proof of illegal enterprise remained lacking. Among the charges to be broken down by attorney Jennifer Bonjean therefore will be the RICO violation, which is currently the biggest contributor to the 30 years the trial judge issued out of sentiment. A strong personal dislike for R. Kelly is not reason enough for a judge to impose false charges on him, and to assume a guilty verdict out of mere hearsay that was never proved with evidence. The entire trial is likely to be disqualified and the conviction overturned as a result of this alone. And even if this is the only request granted by the appeal court, the 30-year sentence will be slashed down substantially. Also disturbing are the Mann Act violation charges alleging events of forced labor and disease transmission that simply fail to make sense to onlookers, and that are not in alignment with what the laws say interstate trafficking is. For a judge to invoke the Mann Act, there must be evidence of transportation, and evidence of purpose. meaning the victim must have originally been transported across state lines for the purpose of finding a safe haven where crime can be committed. If the purpose of transportation is not criminal, then any crime that may occur in the destination state or jurisdiction cannot be twinned with the Travel and the Mann Act cannot be invoked. Only if there is criminal motivation to transport women across state lines does the act become inapplicable. Crime committed or allegedly committed in another state does not necessarily translate to trafficking. Trafficking is when the individuals were initially captured or lured for the purpose of committing crimes on them. And this was never the case with the case against R. Kelly. In fact, there was no evidence that could prove this, considering the total lack of motivation for this event to have occurred as alleged. Why would a man transport a woman from a state where blind spreading of an STD is disallowed by law, and take them to another state still in the United States of America, where the same crime is still punishable by law if the purpose of transportation was to commit the crime? What would be the motivation for this? It just doesn't make any logical sense that the jury of 12 together with one very experienced federal district judge would assume anyone transported women to commit crimes on them in such a series of events and amidst such factors. This lame conclusion by the trial judge about the Mann Act charges is one of the matters that are going to be subjected to thorough interrogation during the New York appeal hearing. It will be interesting to hear how the state attorney will defend these rather inappropriate charges that were forced onto R. Kelly's charge sheet only for the years they could add to his sentence, as evident with the exorbitant 30-year sentence. All they were seeking was an excuse to put R. Kelly away for life, not justice for anybody. Of course, this appeal process will not end without addressing the disturbing forced labor charges which have since perturbed minds of case analysts. These we will discuss in our next video release. According to Vanessa Patterson, I was watching one of your previous videos and heard the Chicago appeal judge showed concern for the R&B king when she suggested the trial judge may want to punish him with a consecutive sentence for appealing the case. However, it's the same Department of Justice that violated his rights and denied him bail. Every citizen who has no past history of missing court deserves the right to bail to allow them prepare their defense. Whatever the reasons were to keep him locked up, now we know. They were always busy stealing his communication records to use in witness tampering, and now here we are. If you wish to take part in a live interview on this channel discussing any of these topics, let us know by emailing us on sashahnnewsroom@gmail.com for scheduling. That is all we had for you today on HN What's Your Say? To keep updated whenever we post a new video, subscribe to this channel now. Also remember to hit the bell icon and enable notifications. And feel free to share your opinions with us in the comment section below, and let us know if you would like us to publish your views in our next release. We value all our subscribers' opinions.